Did you have a failure? What's up, you guys? I was going to have this conversation on the roof, like the old times, rooftop reflections. You guys remember those? But as you can see, it was really windy. It's just way too windy, so I knew the audio was just gonna... So those of you that have been following me for a long time, you guys remember those rooftop reflections. Any of you new subbies, if you guys missed it or haven't watched those videos, quite a few years back, I was going through a very dark time in my life. And I did these videos that were called rooftop reflections. So the house that I lived at in California, I would climb that roof and I'd sit on there and I'd have these like heart to hearts with you guys. And I'd share a lot of my experiences and things that I personally have discovered and did for myself to help me kind of navigate through everything I was going through in my life. Also sharing with you guys that I wasn't just always happy and positive and whoop-a-doo and goofy all the time. Like, there was a lot going on behind the scenes that, you know, obviously I didn't show on social media, but I did share what I was experiencing and things that were just relatable and give you guys tips and suggestions and advice that I use for my own self to help me through that time. So unfortunately today I won't be able to get on my roof to record this video because it is way too windy. We're going to film in my bedroom. I've actually received so many DMs from you guys of how do you move on from heartbreak? How do you move on from loss? Was it scary to move states, to kind of leave everything behind? Here I'm going to share with you guys on what I did, what I faced in order to get where I am now. A lot of us are experiencing, I mean most of us, pretty much every day going on, there's always something happening. There's an upset, there's something bad, there's something good, there's something upsetting. And it's part of life and it's always happening. We get so set on this idea that things have to be a certain way. We set high expectations and we create this world in our heads that we think this is how things need to be. And when they don't follow along those lines, it's like our whole world turns upside down. We're just a mess. Everything's in chaos, and what we're feeling on the inside starts to bleed out in everything around you. It's not as bad as it seems. The problem is we get so attached to something that when we become detached from it for whatever reason, that's when everything goes into chaos and disorder, and it's in our heads. You know, so then we start reacting off of our emotions, whatever the emotion we're feeling at the time. When it comes to life, there's ups and downs, there's goods and bads, there's upsets, there's hurt, there's anger, there's always something happening, good or bad, in life. So it's just a matter of coming down to going with the flow of things and taking everything as a lesson and learning from it. And stop resisting when something happens. And if we start taking those steps forward, no matter what, if it's good or bad, that we can start actually making change and start making progress and start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. What happens is we don't make those changes. We don't take those steps. We just stay in this like little vicious little cycle and repeated patterns, and we just keep going in circles. Everything's great. Everything's fine. And then all of a sudden the upset happens, and then we're here, we're upset, and we're asking questions, we're fighting, we're crying, whatever it is. And then that kind of just fizzes off, and then we start going around this little cycle again, and everything starts to get better again. We're back into this like, yeah, things are good, float right in, and then something happens again. So you can see how we build these patterns and we keep just going in circles instead of just going and just keep going up, evolving and growing and going, just keep going forward. And this becomes our lifestyle. This becomes our patterns. When something happens, we just go immediately to what our pattern is and what we're comfortable with. So instead of actually learning how to cope with it, learning how to work through it, learning how to navigate through it. And I know this from my own self, when something happens and if we don't face ourselves, we play victim. We might not even know we're doing it. And we're just like, oh, poor me. Why me? Why is it me that nothing ever works out for me? I'm never going to find this. I'm never going to have love. And you just look at everybody else and you're thinking, oh, they're just so happy and perfect and everything works out for them. But the problem is it starts with you. And I know this from my own experiences too, that I would not be where I'm at today if I just lived in my little poor me bubble. Life, this is life, guys. Lives have up and downs. Single thing that happens in life is a lesson, and you can learn from it, you can grow from it, you can keep moving forward from it, or you can let it keep breaking you down. You can let it just take control of you and dictate where your life's gonna go, which is nowhere. A lot of why we react the way we do to certain situations stems from our childhood. Things that we were taught, how we were taught to cope with things. Were we taught, this is a problem, here's the solution? Or were we taught to, here's the problem, we avoid it, we don't deal with it? There's so many different patterns in family of how people deal with, how they show love, how they deal with problems, how they cope, how they approach a problem, how they work through things. And everyone's different. And we learn that. We carry that into adulthood. It's because that's all we knew. And our parents, they did the best they could at the time with what they knew. We carry what we've learned into our adulthood. So when things happen, we don't even realize it because it's just so ingrained in a part of us that when we're in adulthood and when things happen, we're just automatically respond to what we know. And it doesn't have to be that way. We can break that pattern. And I know that from my own self. So the thing is we have to identify what it is that we struggle in. My personal thing, which would probably be surprising to you guys, was confrontation and communication. So when somebody confronted me, if they were upset or they were hurt or something like that, and they just came at me and they're like, ah, I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how. I get overwhelmed and I almost shut down. I didn't know how to have this conversation, this very upsetting conversation, the problem and working through the solution. So, and this just stemmed from childhood, how it was with my family. There wasn't a lot of communication. I love my family, don't get me wrong. I love my family, but this is just something I identified with myself over the years. So when we can identify what it is that we struggle with, what it is that we fear, then we can better work through those things which are holding us back. A lot of us might have had a loss of a job, a relationship, friendship, lost a person to death. There's a wide variety of things that could be affecting you right now that you're like, how do I get through this? I'm lost. I don't have answers. I don't know what to do. You're in this position where you're stuck. You're like, how do I move forward? How do I move on? A lot of this is your fears, your insecurities and anxieties, things that you've carried with you for years, for a long time. You don't even realize that they're happening when they're happening. So you're just automatic defense, protecting yourself. As we get older, you guys, when things get more ingrained, they're harder to break because you've been doing them for so long. Keep in mind, when you're trying to break a habit, when you're trying to make change in something that you're not used to, it's not gonna happen like this. It doesn't happen that fast. Everybody's timeline is different. Some people might progress quicker, some people might take longer. So you want to avoid setting this high expectation and setting this idea in your head that things are going to be exactly how you want them to be, like next week or next month. Some change takes months, takes years. I know this for my own self. Some things that I've wanted to change, it's happened pretty quickly, maybe within a few months, being consistent. Some things have taken me years, and actually doing the work to make the changes, it's taken me a long time. And you guys, habits die hard. I'm gonna tell you, habits die hard. But the more you practice towards that change and the more you understand it, when something happens, you're gonna identify it really quick and you're gonna be able to nip it in the butt before it goes spiraling out of control. And you're gonna be able to handle it so much better. You're gonna cope with it so much better, and you're gonna be in a more rational, calm state of mind versus your chaotic mind that you were in before. A message I receive so often, and I know I've done a couple videos on this, but I felt it was time to update, especially where I'm at in my life now. Relationships. So if you guys heard about the 5 love languages, every single one of us have a love language and what we give and what we like to receive. If you guys don't know what those are, I highly recommend purchasing that book and reading it. When you have a better understanding of your love language and your other significant other's love language, the chemistry and the connection that you can have in a relationship is so much better than if you just kind of winging it. Whenever you start a relationship, a lot of us might be a little more timid, hold off a little bit more because of maybe past traumas or just fears, anxieties you may have, and some of us maybe fall hard. We're like, oh, and that can come from insecurities, needs, combination of things. When you're in a relationship and you go 1 year, 2-year, 3-year, 4-year. The longer you're in a relationship, the more it becomes your life. The more you become attached to it. The more you become dependent to it. So when it ends, that's what you were dependent and attached on, and all you knew, of course, you're gonna be like, ugh, what do I do? I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't even know what my life is without that other person. You feel like something's missing. So of course it's normal. You gotta let yourself grieve, and then you've gotta take the time to understand why did it end. It's not one-sided. You guys need to realize that in a relationship, it's never one-sided. There's two people that play a part in a relationship, and maybe one person, maybe granted did a little bit more than the other, or some person did some really hurtful things more than the other, but still two people play a part in a relationship. When it ends, you have to understand your own self, what parts you played in it, why did it fail? There's a reason why it failed and why it started going that direction. Also taking the time to understand the other person, why they did what they did, instead of just immediately resenting and pointing fingers at the person. I know it's hard. I promise you, when you take that time to understand yourself and the other person, the dynamics of that relationship are going to become more clear, and you're not going to be sitting there, poor me, I'm hurt, shame on you, I hope you die. Let's get rid of that anger. Work on getting rid of that anger, stepping up and being like, there's a reason why this failed, and I'm gonna understand why that is. So that is the first thing. And that is something I did for myself. When my relationship ended, my 10-year relationship ended, at first I was like, oh my God, my life, 10 years of my life, I don't even know what life is without that. I did take counseling. I highly recommend, if you are having a hard time doing it yourself, seeing somebody professional. Don't be ashamed of getting help. I did. So I looked at what was the part that I played in the relationship, what I was doing and what I wasn't doing that could have been affecting that other person and triggering their insecurities, maybe triggering their traumas, and vice versa. So it goes both ways. And then taking the time to look at the other person, why they do what they do, the decisions, the actions they make. It just like light bulbs. Ding, ding, ding. I'm like, ew. And even though the relationship ended and there wasn't any getting back together, I learned so much and carried so much from that. I was like, my future relationships, I know what I'm gonna be working on and improving on that I don't want to repeat again with my own self. In order to get over heartbreak, you guys, it's not just sitting and doing nothing for yourself, sitting and not doing anything to understand why the relationship failed or why you feel the way you do, why the hurt and the anger and the resentment, what fears you have. You need to humble yourself and come to a space of removing malice, anger, hurt, removing it from your heart. The more you hold on to that, the more you're creating your own hell. You're creating your own suffering, and you're not going to move forward from that, because again, it goes back into that pattern. It goes into that circle. And if you don't identify what your own patterns, insecurities, your hurts, your traumas are, then you're going to carry them on into your next relationship. You don't want to jump into another relationship, because that other first of all, it's not fair to that new person of bringing all that baggage. And at first it's all great. It's like, yeah, you can hide it, but when you get comfortable, everything's going to come right back out again. You don't want to be jumping from relationship to relationship, carrying this baggage from each one. When one ends, you don't deal with it. You're carrying this baggage to the new one. And that's not fair. If you can't be okay with yourself, just sitting with yourself, and whatever's happened in your life, that person can't cross your mind without being upset, you got some work to do, sister. If you can't even love yourself and you can't even sit with yourself or be alone by yourself and be okay, you should not be in a relationship. All right, well, damn. And I did that for my own self. When my relationship ended, as bad as I wanted to meet people and I wanted to feel good again, I wanted to feel loved again, I wanted that attention, I chose not to, because I was like, if I can't even love myself or give myself love, and I'm not even okay by myself, I'm not gonna be able to give it to somebody else. I didn't want to feel like that for the rest of my life. I want happiness. I want peace. I just want to feel good, and I want to feel good by myself and have that self-love and that confidence. I know we all do. If you're hurting, if you're angry, and you've just kind of been repeating the same patterns. Maybe you've been jumping around from relationship to relationship. Maybe you've just been sleeping around. Slow up, step back, take a breath. It's time to heal and mend up that broken heart. And it's time to face yourself. Facing yourself is the hardest thing you could ever do, because when you face yourself, it brings up a lot of things that you've been avoiding. In order to move past those and completely abolish those feelings and those wounds, you have to face them. And you have to be like, hey, this is what happened. Yep, it happened. And how do I move past it? Again, that's why I encourage seeing a professional, seeing a counselor, reading self-help, self-love book. Also journaling. Journaling was my best friend for quite a few years. I still do every once in a while, but it's only when I do have those moments where I'm like, oh, and it's overwhelming and I just need to bleed on paper. But at the time when I was it was like every day I was having a breakdown, and every day I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen, and I didn't have the answers, and I was just repeating experiences and repeating things in my head. And the journaling helped to get me out of my head. When you're not with somebody like a counselor and you can't be talking all the time, it's like you're talking to a counselor, but you're talking to yourself. You're helping yourself by writing your thoughts on paper. And I usually would start with the date, the time, and then I'd be like, what I'm currently feeling. And I would write down every single emotion that I'm feeling until I couldn't think of any more. And then I would write, why am I feeling this way? So then I would literally just write until I couldn't write anymore. Why I'm feeling these emotions, like maybe what happened that day, or maybe it's just I'm stuck in my own head, or maybe I'm just dwelling on after I bleed all that out on paper, then I will write, what are the solutions to these problems? Granted, I didn't have all the answers and I didn't know half the time, but there were some things, little things that I did know. And I wrote those down. So it's just like reinforcing your own mind and reminding yourself of what to do, because sometimes we get just lost in the chaos. We get lost in our head and we just, again, we go on that pattern. Journaling is it's an amazing tool. It's a great like therapy session for yourself. When a relationship ends, when your heart is broken, you need to separate from it completely. Or you guys are playing that game where you still talk but you're broken up. Maybe you moved out but you're still talking. You're still sleeping together. You're still doing things together. If you break up, you need to break up. You need to completely separate. Otherwise, if you aren't going to do that, then the two people, you and the other person, need to set goals. You need to set boundaries, things that to work. Whatever the problem was to cause you to break up in the first place, you need to work towards a solution. You need to work through those problems. You can't just break up and be like, okay, a week space, okay, we're good. Because it's literally just going to keep going in circles. And a lot of you could probably vouch for that. Yeah, I'm in a relationship where I broke up maybe like 3 or 4 times already. I hear that a lot. And you just keep getting back together because you have this problem, but you're not even working towards a solution at all. You just keep repeating your problem. Natural human nature, we know when we're doing something wrong and we know when something's not right. We start holding resentment for ourselves and we start holding resentment for the other person. And then of course that resentment becomes between you guys, and then it creates more space and distance between you. So even though you're just kind of just riding the motions, and you're just riding that pattern. And there's no real connection anymore, and there's no genuine relationship anymore. If you break up, you need to break up. And I've talked to a lot of girls, a lot of women about this, is when you have a breakup, take that time, utilize that time that you were separate from the other person, and fix yourself, work on yourself. Heal yourself. Identify your wounds, your traumas, the insecurities, maybe the resentment that you're holding. Identify those things and work on them. Take advantage of that time that you are by yourself. You can't sit there and go, well, I'm doing this, but the other person isn't. They should be doing this too. It's not about them. This is about you. So you need to get that out of your head and stop thinking for the other person. Stop trying to live the other person's life. Stop trying to make decisions for the other person. You need to take responsibility for yourself. A lot of times, if you can lead by example, people will follow. But you have to lead by example. You have to be the more mature one. You have to be the one that takes the steps towards change, towards growth, towards healing. If you don't, you both stay on that same level, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to get better. You're not going to get better. You guys are just gonna keep going in that circle. And if that other person is not willing to work with you or work towards a goal, don't even waste your time. It's choosing and giving yourself permission. It's okay to be alone. It's okay to let go. It's okay to heal. This just goes back to the attachment that I was talking about. When we become so attached to something and when it's not there anymore, we're so desperate to try to hold on to it. We do some pretty crazy things to try to keep on to it. You never know what letting go, where it's going to take you. Sometimes the toughest decisions are the best decisions. There's a reason why something isn't working anymore. It's no longer serving you or the relationship. You're meant to grow. You're meant to evolve. So stop holding back, stop resisting, stop holding on to the past and start creating new things. Start finding new love, start finding new adventures and start letting yourself bloom and blossom. When it ends, you need to completely separate yourself. Don't play that game of, oh, we're broken up, but still talking, or you break up for a week, you get back together. You need to completely separate, focus on yourself, take care of yourself. Don't worry about the other person. Don't worry about the future. Don't worry about the past. Be present with yourself. Focus on what's right in front of you right now. If you and the other person are going to work towards a goal, you guys need to set goals. You might need to seek help. You might need to reach out to somebody, but you need to set boundaries and you need to set goals and you need to break the patterns that got you in this place in the first place and do things that lift you up. Don't go run into the bar. Don't go drink your life away. Don't go smoke your life away. Don't go do a bunch of drugs, drug your life away. You need to do things that actually lift your spirit, that make you feel good. Challenge yourself in new ways, pick up new hobbies. Spend time with people that lift you up. If they aren't lifting you up, they're bringing you down. You need to separate from them because you're in a place where you're really vulnerable right now and sensitive. So anything negative is not gonna benefit you at all. So you are in a place that you're trying to heal. You're trying to get better. So you need to surround yourself and bring those good things into your life. You don't want to go party or just sit and watch reality TV shows that are drama and breakups and just and just do that all the time because you're temporarily numbing yourself, but everything's still there. So you need to step up. You need to start doing uplifting and good things for yourself and also face yourself to heal from your heartbreak, to heal from your trauma. It's consistency, you guys. You're gonna have really good days where you're just feeling on top of the world and you're like, yeah, I got this, I'm doing good. Woo, woo. And then there's days where you just get kicked in the head or kicked in the gut or kicked in the butt and you're just knocked down to the ground and you're like, what am I doing? Where am I going? Oh my God. And you're just gonna feel it. You're gonna feel it in that gut. You're just, let yourself breathe, journal. But then don't stay there too long. Get back up and be like, all right. And tell yourself, you gotta cheer yourself on. Be like, all right, sis. All right, you had a bad day, but it's okay. Because today's gonna be a good day and you're trugging along, you're doing great again, and then you get knocked back down. That is part of life. That is part of the healing process. That is part of growth and change. Don't fear that. The more you learn and the more consistent you are and the more you keep getting back up, jumping back up every time you get knocked down, the easier it's gonna be, the better it's gonna be for you. So when you do get knocked down, you're gonna get knocked down, but you're gonna get right back up like, okay, that wasn't that bad. The problem is a lot of times people get knocked down and they stay down. They don't get back up. They fear getting back up. They don't want to get knocked down again. We attach to that fear and that literally it dictates our life and where we go and we become miserable. So get back up. Every time you get knocked down, maybe you need to just sit there a minute, recollect yourself, but you're gonna get back up. You guys tell me all the time, you're a strong woman, you're positive, how do you do it? I don't know how to do that. It wasn't always easy. I wasn't always strong and I wasn't always positive. And even today, I still have my moments where I'm not always positive and I'm not always strong. The good, the strong, the positive overpowers the bad, the negative, and the weak. And that's just being consistent. Just consistent and not giving up when it gets tough and just learning how to rest, not giving up. You're dealing with right now, you're not alone. I've been there. There's many other women and people who have experienced the same thing. Some people who are experiencing it right now and some people who have overcome it. And I know from my own experiences, if I can do it, you can do it too. The moving thing. Was it scary for me? How did I do it? Why did I do it? All the things that I talked about before, when you face yourself and you start working through healing and change, you get to that point where you're ready for change. I wouldn't have moved if I wasn't ready. A little bit backstory. I have a lot of family in California, but I have family in Washington and Oregon, Utah, Idaho. So it's kind of like I have a mixture of family all over the place. So it's not like I left everybody in California. I got to the point where I wasn't scared being alone. So I was okay being alone, like being by myself and solo traveling and doing things by myself. I got to that point where I had so much self-love and confidence with myself that I was like, I don't need a person or a thing to complete me or to make me happy. So I got to that point. That's why I am stressing, if you're in a place where you can't be by yourself, you're not okay being by yourself, or just the thought of you moving or being somewhere else without a person or thing, you're not ready. So you need to do a little bit more work on yourself. I actually got to the point where I actually feared not allowing myself to experience growth or change or new experiences and new opportunities. I actually feared that. I'm like, oh, I almost got FOMO with myself. Fear of missing out. Like, I don't want to miss out on what opportunities are out there for me, or things that I could experience and people I could meet. Say, hi, mama, look how big your head is. You got a big head and neck, and your butt stinks. Because I was open to change, it led me to new places and meeting new people, which in the process I met my now husband. But I was single for 2 years, solo traveling, doing all these experiences by myself and working on myself, finding that self-love and that connection with myself again. Because one of those crazy things when I did meet Nick, when I did meet my husband, that I just knew. I was just ready. And it was like, it was in one of those, if you've watched How We Met video, it was just one of those crazy circumstances. I was looking to move. I didn't know where I wanted to move. Okay, so when I talk about ready for change, you guys, this is crazy. I was gonna try to move to Thailand, I was gonna try to move to Hawaii, I was gonna try to move to Southern California, and then Montana got thrown into the mix too. Those just such random places to live. But because I had the puppies, Hawaii, Thailand was out of the mix, and then Southern California, I'm just not a city girl. I just didn't want to be in the city, and plus it's so expensive. Cancel out, cancel out, cancel out, cancel out. And then my mom, again, if you watch that video, she was actually looking to move to, she was looking at Montana or Colorado. So I was like, well, if my mom's moving up there, maybe I'm gonna start looking up there. And in the process, I was at a wedding, my cousin's wedding. Wasn't looking for anybody, I was expecting it to be all family. And there was my husband, my future husband. I didn't even see him. He saw me and he came and talked to me. I was doing my, my usual pictures and videos for Instagram and all that stuff. And he was like making fun of me. That's not how you do it. That's not how you do it. And so something clicked. I was like, I don't know. I wanted to talk to this guy. I wanted to get to know him a little bit more. Before I was a little bit more just closed off, more focused on myself. I met people and I talked to people, but I never took it to that point of, yeah, we're gonna hook up and we're gonna get in a relationship. I set boundaries with myself and I guarded myself for a while because I was like, I need to focus on me right now. But when I met him, it just was like, ding, there was just something that told me that I was like, there's something, I need to walk down this path and see where it's gonna lead me. Hubby aside, it just was one of those things where I was ready for it. And I was gonna make this move. I was gonna do it. If I found a place, if I found somewhere where and even if it didn't work out, even if I moved somewhere and I was maybe there for a couple months, it's experience. It's trying it. You don't know until you try it. But you can't avoid it, and you can't say that you know anything about it if you haven't tried it, if you haven't experienced it. Making the decision of moving, I said I was ready for it. I was excited. I wanted this change. But after moving, the first couple months when I realized that, your friends and family aren't just right there, beck and call, you're like, hey, I'm coming over. Or, hey, let's go get a bite to eat. Let's go watch a movie. Then I kind of was like, yeah, so there was a lot of, texting, phone calls, and Snapchats, and stuff. And you realize, oh, I don't really know many people. But that was the other thing, is like when I talk about getting involved in things that lift you up, that's what I did. As soon as I moved to Montana, I got involved at the gym. I was like trying to do started doing hiking and doing random things. And in the process, I met people, but I was very open to it. And I'm very social now these days. So, you know, I end up having conversations with people and it just kind of goes from there. Hey, you like doing this? Hey, I've made a lot of friends here. I've also experienced some amazing adventures and made some unforgettable memories that no material possession could give you. Fear can prevent you from ever living your life to the fullest. And it can prevent you from healing and from growing. And who knows what you could gain from taking that step outside your comfort. Taking a step forward has never steered me wrong. We become complacent and we become attached to this idea that this is how things need to be and this is the only way that they should be. Then you're never gonna grow. You're never gonna heal. You're never gonna evolve. You're never gonna experience things. You might be talking about, I want this and I want that and I wish things were like that. They're in your grasp, but you're not allowing yourself. You're resisting that because of fear, because of past traumas, because of heartbreak, because fear comes in all forms. Sometimes we don't even recognize that we fear something. Humans, we are very, very complicated creatures. We make things complicated, but they don't have to be. And things are not as bad as they seem. It's okay to step out. It's okay if you want to move and you can move, do it. Who knows what you'll gain from that? Maybe you might move away for a little while and then you'll come back. But the things that you can gain from that, not only spiritually, but mentally too. Don't feel like a failure too if you tried and you failed. Try again. You fail. It's okay. Try again. The more you keep consistent with something, eventually it's gonna click. Eventually something's gonna, boo, it's gonna slingshot you. It's gonna get better. But just because you might fail, don't give up. If you gave up, that's what the problem is. Then you're staying down here and you're staying in this place that you don't want to be in, that you keep saying you want to get out of. How do I get out of it? Stop asking yourself how. Start telling yourself, I am. I don't really fully understand it, but I am. I'm going to do this and I'm going to figure it out. Start telling yourself that. I do that with myself, even to this day. Thing is humbling yourself and admitting when you're wrong and taking responsibility for mistakes and actions that you shouldn't have done. And don't be ashamed of it because we all make mistakes. And when you admit when you're wrong and don't try to be stubborn-headed and have your way all the time and control everything all the time, when you actually let go a little bit and be like, okay, no, I know. The good outweighs the bad. When it comes to things and how I approach things, how I cope with things, how I deal with things are just night and day from how it was 3-4 years ago. Comes with age too. I'm gonna be 35 next month. You know, I still journal. When times get tough sometimes and I just feel a little overwhelmed, I still journal. I still go to my self-help books. Problems change. They go from heartbreak, breakups, to moving, what do I do with my life, to more like marital, house, bills. The problems just change, but the problems are still there. Where you're always evolving, you're always growing, you're always working on something. That's part of life. And that's part of whatever you are in life. There's always work. It's never just like, oh, I did my work, it's done, now it's gonna be perfect for the rest of my life. I mean, I wish it worked that way, but it doesn't. So you guys, don't fear change. Don't fear letting go. Fear not changing. Fear not letting go. Fear not being able to reach your full potential in life or experience life at your full potential or experiencing real love and real happiness and peace and adventures and memories, creating new memories. Instead of all your memories just being negative and sad and angry, remember, you're not alone. You are worthy. You are beautiful. You deserve love. Everybody deserves love. Everybody deserves happiness. I hope you guys found this video helpful and sorry I couldn't do it on my roof like I wanted to. Rooftop reflections. It's still windy AF out there. My goal is in the future I'll be able to do more videos and do back on the roof with the beautiful mountain background. But today was just from my beautiful bedroom. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and I hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and I'll see you on the next video.